Life in prison. That is Osiento. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for that contribution. And before I actually comment on that, I want to say that if you want to contribute to this discussion as a panelist, please just raise your hand and I will definitely attend to that because we all want to contribute. However, we need to split it out depending on the region. Vanessa, as you said, it's a lifestyle, it's trauma. We need to understand that these punishments need to be stiffer in all of our
Yande,
countries. So I'm going to direct the
Yande,
question. Yes,
is
yes.
Wase from Rwanda has joined. Panelist
Okay.
Wase from Rwanda.
Okay. So we have someone from Rwanda who has just joined us, and we're so excited that you could join us. Vase, I'm really hoping that I'm pronouncing your name right. But just because you have joined us, let me direct this question at you. The question reads as follows: how do you think people who violate the rights of children, the rights of girls, should be treated by the justice system? Wase? Wase, can you hear us? Okay, it seems like Uwase cannot hear us. We do not want to delay the conversation anymore. But Taliro, could you also just answer this question very, very briefly? What does safeness look like to you, and how do you think people should react, the justice system should react?
Okay, thank you. I've been waiting for you to ask me this question. Honestly, as for me, I think this person has to be castrated only because this person is an animal. It does not deserve to live amongst people or even given a life imprisonment because that person would have hurt someone, and also that scar, it wouldn't be so easy to remove that scar from the person. So that person should be maybe life imprisonment or even death sentence only because this person is someone who is hurting other people, and that person is just an animal. So I think maybe castration or even life imprisonment or even a death sentence, because it's so hard for someone to see every day, to see the person who would have done, who would have abused her in the streets walking freely. It's so hard, even if the person is given 20 years or 5 years, but that person would then come back to the community, and it's hard for someone to see that person. So I think castration or even life imprisonment or even death is much better. Thank you.
So you've heard it from Taliro herself. But we also need to consider that in terms of castration, it's just not men who commit offenses, it's also women who commit offenses. So I hear you and I understand you. We need to make these punishments much more deeper so that people are more afraid to commit them in the end. So we're going to move on to our fifth question because this is just a very interesting question that I'm super excited for us to answer. But before that, this is not a panel of adults who basically just, you know what I mean. This is young girls who are preaching and who are telling a meaningful message. So let's just have a small energizer. What I want all of us to do, even you guys who are watching, is just breathe, shake out, and ensure that you're feeling and all the anxiety is taken out. So I'm going to start for you, and we're just gonna do a little dance here and there, and you can do your dance too. Margaret, I'm waiting for your dance. Taliro, Munashe, Vanessa, let's go. Let's show them we're ready, we're energized, and we're here to conquer the world and show that we can break power structures.
Young day, there's Farah from North Africa. There's Farah from North Africa would like also to join the ice-breaking session.
Farah, you're so welcome. Please, let's dance. We're still dancing here. Margaret, Munashe, I want to see Vanessa. We want to see Uwase, Farah, dance for us. I'm so excited. There we go. All right, guys. So that was our very brief session of just relaxation. And I really hope all the people who are attending this and are watching this are dancing with us as well. Now let's just move on to the fifth question. And Farah, sorry, I really hope I'm pronouncing your names right, but Farah, can you take us up on this question, which is that we're living during COVID-19 pandemic times. Have you heard of any cases of injustice that have been perpetrated to young girls in your community or in your country? And please make sure to introduce yourself. This is very important so that we know that your region is represented. Farah, take the stage. It's all yours. Seems like Farah is not with us, but that's perfectly okay. She can come towards the end of the conversation. Kimberly, I'm so ready for you to contribute to this question. Please, can you tell us that during this time of COVID-19, there are so many things that may be going on towards girls in your community. Kindly enlighten us. What does justice look like in terms of these COVID-19 pandemic times?
Okay. Cases of there, especially sexual harassment and regions caused by poverty. Since parents are locked down in homes, they are not working, girls are not getting proper attention, chambers are fled, abusing girls.
Thank you so much for that contribution, Kimberly. And I hear what you're saying. It's the same situation that is going on in Zambia, because what we see is that now people are literally confined with their abusers during this quarantine period. And so more gender-based violence and gender-perpetuated violence is occurring more frequently. Let me go on to Farah. Farah, I really hope that you can talk to us now, and I hope that you can put in your contribution. What does justice look like during these COVID-19 pandemic times? Farah, if you're not able to talk, then we can move on to Uwase. Uwase, I really hope that you can.
Where is the Arabic and the translation?
Sorry, Farah, I'm waiting for the interpreter, the Arabic interpreter, to join in, and then you can contribute. I'm so sorry about that. I'm just telling him to join in right now, and then you can contribute. I know you can speak in Arabic. I'm sorry, Farah.
So the translator is going to quickly be joining in so that Farah can make her contribution, and I'm so excited for that. But let's not delay it. Girls, let me say it once more. If you want to contribute, just raise your hand and I'll be able to see so that we can all have an equal chance to contribute in these affairs. Munashe, I think you can take us up with this conversation. The question is, we're living in this COVID-19 pandemic times where people are basically quarantined and they're in their houses. What does justice for girls look like in your country, which is Zimbabwe? I'm super excited to hear it from you, but also maybe you could cite a little bit of experiences of girls who have gone through this violence and how the justice system has come through or has not come through for them.
Yeah.
Munashe, you can take the floor.
Okay. People are not going to work. And yes, they are in lockdown, so families are staying together. Or I have heard that example of the following causes. Girls are falling pregnant. Girls have been forced into marriage due to poverty.
Thank you so much, Munashe, for that contribution. Let me just move on to Joy Zawadi. Joy, can you tell us, what does this justice system look like in COVID-19 pandemic times?
Hi. It's unfortunate as we are in these hard times that these injustices keep going on. For an example, in my country, there was a girl who was gang raped by 5 men in the rural parts of the country. And what I saw is that the perpetrators were only apprehended and are awaiting to be sentenced. I believe that I don't believe and I hope that they will get punishment, but according to what we had seen earlier, justice in the rural areas is really hard to get and really hard to access. And I really hope that justice for that girl should be attained.
Thank you so much, Joy, for that contribution. And I like how you cited that there's so many examples of young girls who are being abused at this point in time, and we really need to talk about it. So I'm being informed that Uwase is finally on. Uwase, you can give us your contribution on this question. I'm so excited for you to talk about this specific thing that is occurring in your country, Rwanda, which is in COVID-19 pandemic times. What does justice look like in this situation for your country?
Right now, for us in Rwanda, like the girls, especially young girls under.
Wasa, can you go next to your speaker, please? Can you go closer to your mic so that we can hear you?
قريب من المايك.
I was saying here in Rwanda, the girls' violation of their rights is not inherent, though also it's it's a problem worldwide. But in rural areas, especially, like we have here, we have 4 provinces. We have the northern, the southern, the western, and the eastern. But more especially in the deep villages, that's why you find people are trying to struggle with their kids, because here mostly like village male who violate our girl child straight across a line where to contact like uh,
So it seems.
where anyone would handle. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Uwase. So again, we have seen that there's a highlighted gap between justice that's being delivered in the rural areas and justice that's being delivered in the urban areas, which is perpetuating what we have seen in terms of access to justice. I'm going to go to Dominic Joy because she has not spoken in quite a bit of time. And then I'm going to briefly move on to Margaret Ayeko. And I'm super excited for her to come forth. So, Joy, can you please give us a brief background of what it looks like as justice is being given in these COVID-19 pandemic times?
Justice, I've heard of there's a recent case now in his court because he went there to judge him. So justice was not correctly as it is as deserved if the pandemic was not in occursion. So also actually saying that justice in our country during this pandemic time is not as it used to be.
Thank you so much, Joy, for that contribution. And as you have highlighted, justice is not what it should be, especially because of how COVID-19 has come up and further perpetuated what our justice system should look like. So, Margaret, could you please give a very, very brief to the next question? So, Margaret, the floor is yours. Please give us a brief scenario of what justice looks like during these COVID-19 pandemic times.
Thank you so much. During this COVID-19 pandemic period, the justice system is really not functional, because there's this story about a girl who just did her KCSE exam and she passed well, the final exam for high school, and she passed and she was supposed to join high school. But her dad could not raise the fee, and the dad came forward and even offered the girl's hand in marriage for someone to pay her fee. And this is really unfair to the girl, because she didn't want to get married. But the father was ready to give her hand in marriage so that someone could pay her fee. And putting myself in her shoes, I believe that this is such a tough situation, and the parents should just look for other ways other than putting her in such a situation. So the justice system is really not functioning well, because many people are focusing on the pandemic, and they're trying to find ways to reduce the amount of people that are contracting the disease and not giving much attention to the justice system. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution, Margaret. It's a very, very beautiful contribution. So, as you have said, because more attention is being given to the health system in fighting COVID-19, a lot of other aspects of life have been neglected. Aspects like the socio-economic crisis have been neglected, the climate crisis have been neglected, the feminist movements have been neglected, and we also need to put so much light on those situations because in the end, they matter. Thank you so much, Margaret, for that contribution once again. And I'm going to move on into our next question. And that is, what do you think the role of girls parents, guardians, teachers, community members in ensuring girls' access to justice systems are. I'm particularly excited about this because as girls, as children, we do become the rights holders and the people in our governments do become the duty bearers. So I'm going to rephrase this question a little bit and I'm going to say, if you had one or two key messages for the government, for your leaders right now, what message would that be? I'm super excited for this one and I hope you are excited for as well. Please, 1 to 2 key messages that if your president was watching right now, you would tell him or her, this is what I want to see done and I want to see it done now. Kimberly, you can take this question up.
Okay. Girls should leave the habit of harboring perpetrators due to fear, and they should report cases. And parents should practice positive parental skills where they have a child relationship, so that girls are free to air out their challenges. Community members should also work together in coming up with accessible reporting systems for girls and work vigilantly to offer help to girls. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that contribution, Kimberly. Let's move on to Joy Zawadi. Please, can you also tell us what is your message to your president right now?
What I would like to see in my country as for now is that he should try to create girls' courts that mostly and wholly just focus on rights and how they have been violated and how they should counter those actions. And also I would like we are not only focusing on girls who are undergoing these injustices, but also the girls who have undergone them, left like that without any closure, without any help. I would like him to try and create retreats or workshops or counseling centers where these girls can be both mentally so that they can overcome what they had undergone so that their lives may carry on. Those types of incidences.
Thank you so much for that contribution. I love that you want him that the justice system is appropriate. I'm going to bounce this question back to Vanessa. Vanessa, can you tell us one message for your president that he should do? He has no choice. He or she, he has no choice to do it. He needs to deliver what you want.
All right, thank you, Yande. First of all, we need to consider that during this lockdown, girls are stuck in the house, and sometimes they're stuck with the perpetrators themselves. So, what I would suggest is the president should be sending social workers into houses so that they find girl children in danger, because you find most of the times girls are being violated by the people they date, and they don't have a platform to air out their views right now and their concerns. So social workers should be moving in houses and homes and find children that need to be rescued.
Beautiful contribution. I love how we're bringing out the solution. We want them to come into, we want the government social workers to come and actually find out how we're doing, to do groundwork and not just pass a policy and say they're protected. We want them to hear and do the action. Farah, can you tell us just a little message, a key message for your president right now? If there was one thing that I want them to do, it is this, to ensure that I have a justice system that is friendly for me. Okay, it seems that there are some
You have to help us with the translation because I think our Northern African friends are they don't know if there's translation going on. If you can kindly just come and tell us what they need to do so that they can be able to access the Arabic translation. So please, Jafar, for 1 minute, just come to the main room and explain how to get to the translation so that they can join in. Our Northern African friends, we have quite a number of them, but they don't know how to join in. Jafar?
All right, so as that is being sorted out, Margaret Aiko, please can you tell us, what do you think our president? Give a message to your president right now as if he was watching you, taking down notes and ensuring that what you wanted was going to be achieved. Margaret, can you please tell us, and then we're going to move on to Uwase. Please tell us, please give us keynotes. Tell your president right now, this is what I want seen and done.
Thank you so much. In our country, we have this rule in the National Assembly that 30% of the members should be females. And I think this rule should be raised to 50% because we're all human, depending on the gender. And I believe that if females get the respect that they have from the higher levels, then this will be reflected on the lower levels, like girls at a younger age. So if this rule could be raised to, let's say, 50%, 50-50, male, female, 50% each, the respect they get from the higher levels will be reflected to the lower levels, such as the young girls that are being, let's say, violated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Let me move on straight to the Dargeti girls. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. But please go ahead and give your president one message on what you want to see as a child-friendly justice system for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly well. Go on.
As for me, I would request the president to help kusaidia wasichana ambao ni wadogo ili kuzuia early marriages na waache kumistreetiwa. Most of children, girls hawasomangi jo kumistreetiwa, wakienda hawasikizangi. So for me, nilikuwa naomba president atusaidia hapo.
Thank you so much for that contribution.
They want, Yande, let me translate. What she said that she would want the government to work on ending child marriage because most of the girls, they don't know how to report. So it is good for them to talk about child marriage.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Very insightful. Let me move on to Uwase. Uwase, what do you think needs to be done? One message for your president at this moment.
Yande, I think we've lost Yande.
I'm here. Yes,
yes,
I'm
what
here.
was the question?
I was asking Uwase, what do you think a justice system that is friendly for you looks like? And what is your key message to your president on what you want to see done and what you want to see in terms of a child-friendly justice system for you? It seems Uwase has gone offline, and that is okay. She will join us in later, and we're also going to give our end key messages at the end of the discussion. But let's quickly move on to our next question, which is what special considerations need to be put in place to ensure girls in refugee camps and girls who live in marginalized societies and areas can access justice systems. So during this conversation, we've actually seen a lot that justice systems are very different from rural areas and urban areas in terms of access. So what do you think needs to be done? Do you think we need to put in another policy or another law? If there was a message that you would say to your government on what needs to be done at this present moment, what would that be? Dominic Joy, I think you can take us up with this question and then we can move on to Taliro. So please tell us, what do you think needs to be done?
I think what we need to do is that we should have access to free lawyers because most of the people that violate girls' rights believe that they don't have enough money, they don't have enough influence to attend to lawyers. So I think that if we put into consideration by giving these girls to attend free lawyers, to be able to curb the violations that are being violated on this girl, and to bring about a girl child friendly system.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Let's move on to Taliro and then Olanike. Taliro, can you tell us what do you think needs to be put in place to ensure that there is a child-friendly justice system in your country? Taliro, you can take the floor. Okay, it seems that Taliro has lost contact, but that's perfectly okay. Again, we will have conversations later on. Let's just move on into Olanike. Olanike, please can you tell us what is your message? What do you think needs to be put in place to ensure that a justice system is friendly for each and every single young girl in the African continent, especially within your country? Olanike, please can you unmute yourself?
So, to ensure child-friendly justice in my country, I think we should enable more facilities for children to seek justice with ease, without having to go up and down looking for who help seek justice, because we cannot do it on our own. We need assistance from other people to help. And once we're able to get that kind of assistance, it will be easier to seek justice for children. And when you're able to get justice, the child will be more comfortable in the environment, making it better to resolve the situation without having to get anyone, especially the child, into any kind of trauma or pain.
Thank you so much, Olanike, for that contribution. And I like how you said that we can't do it on our own. We need each and every single person on board to ensure that there's a child-friendly justice system being delivered in our various countries in the continent of Africa. Let's move on to Farah. Farah, I'm so excited to hear your voice and ensure that you're contributing to this conversation. So Farah, can you tell us what is your message? What do you think needs to be put in place to ensure that young people's voices and children's voices and girls' voices are heard within this justice system? Farah, you can take the stage.
Jaffer, you need to help us here. I think Farah cannot hear the translation. So if you can be able to help us come this other side, translate for her so that she can be able to join the translation. Jaffer, please help us. Just leave the translation for a bit and then come back this side. Shima, can you hear us? Shima? Yeah, go on, Farah. Go on, Farah.
أنا فرح من مصر. بطالب إن يكون في محاكم لحقوق الطفل والأطفال اللي بلا مأوى وأطفال الشوارع وعدم ختان البنات.
He's saying that we should be.
شكرا فرح.
أنا فرح من مصر.
Yeah, go on.
I am Farah Al-Mous. I am Farah Al-Mous. And I want they should be courts for the juveniles. We can help them get their rights. we have these laws and codes, and we don't need to do the FGM on girls. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that contribution. And let me just move this question on to Joy Zawadi. Joy, I really want to hear your contribution in terms of this, what we are asking, in terms of this question rather. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that there's a child-friendly justice system? So we've talked about everything. We've talked about the problems. We've talked about the gap between justice in the rural areas and in the urban areas. But from your perspective and from your experience, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that we have a child-friendly justice system in our various countries in Africa?
Firstly, I would like to say that I would like our government specifically to create awareness so that all the girls may know what is not right. Because I'm thinking in the sense that if a girl's culture, in their culture, that gay marriage is there, they may not know that it is not right. They just think of it as a norm. So I would like mostly for our government to create awareness everyone so that they understand first the obvious injustices, and second, like centers or rescue places where these girls may go. Because I'm thinking if you have, let's say, one who is oppressing the girl, the parents, and you go to the police station. If the girl, for example, if the girl is a minor, the police may not take it seriously, and as seriously as they should. So I was thinking if our government can create rescue centers where girls can go and seek help, aside from the government, the local police and all that, where they can get help.
Thank you so much, Joy, for that contribution. I love how you said that culture plays a big role in whatever is being done and how our justice systems look like and what reporting mechanisms actually are on the ground. It's so important that within the society, the patriarchal society that we live in, we need to degrade it and we need to ensure that gender equality is being put up there, as a lot of us have alluded to ensure that in whatever is going